Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name is Michelle and I will be your host. Please note that we cannot hear you as you are muted, so if you have any questions, please use the chat window during the presentation. This presentation will last about 30 minutes. Once it is complete, we will address any questions during our open Q&A session. Now, I would like to introduce today's speakers. We are excited to announce that Jan Kenny from IBM will be joining us, in addition to Jeffrey OHalloran from Bitrate Consulting and Adam Chatterdon from GFX Solutions. Okay, so let's get started with Jan Kenny from IBM. Jan?
Okay, thank you. Let me get the slides showing here. There we go. Confirmation people can see, correct?
Yes, we can see you.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thank you so much for allowing me to join this call today with GFX and to provide some information about IBM Notes Traveler. And I'm Jan Kenny, and I'm the Market Segment Manager for Messaging and Collaboration. So that would be Notes and Domino, and that certainly extends into the mobile world for Notes Traveler as well. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. I understand that there are attendees on the call today who know about Traveler and some who may be new to Traveler. So I have a slide to kind of set the stage for anyone new to it. And then I'll go into what's new in terms of the release that is in market today. So let me get into the agenda, just 3 short agenda items here, overview, what's new, and then I'll leave you with a wealth of information to dig deeper on IBM Notes Traveler and details around it. So in terms of an overview, IBM Notes Traveler has been in the market since 2008 and is our mobile component that allows you to bring your Domino mail, calendar, contacts, to-do information, bring that down to your favorite mobile device. And you can see depicted here the various device OSs that we support. So it would be the iOS devices, iPhone and iPad, as well as iPod, and Android devices from 2X, OS 2X and up. The new Windows Phone devices, as well as the RT tablet, and BlackBerry 10 devices. In addition, some of the original Symbian devices from Nokia we also support. So we have a great breadth of support in terms of device platforms we support. And then on the server side, the support statement is one for a Windows server, a Linux server, as well as IBM I, which was recently added as an additional server platform that we support for that side of the functionality. So as mentioned, Traveler allows you to sync your mail and PIM data to your favorite mobile device, allows for that two-way synchronization of that information, and very quick at it, I must say. An over-the-air client and profile installation can easily happen from by a point-and-click operation from the server side, allowing you to bring that functionality down to your device quickly. We utilize native applications on the device as appropriate. For Android, we built a custom application there, but for other iOS and Windows Phone, we take advantage of the application right on the device, so it becomes a very seamless, intuitive, and familiar user experience. And we have a great administrative support for the devices, allowing all sorts of levels of security that can be enforced by policy down to the device, depending on what your company's rules are about security. We have the ability and options to be able to set and enforce those, or have the administrator do so. Okay, in terms of what's new, latest version or code stream, I should say, that's in market is our 9.0 stream, and we shipped our Notes Traveler 9.0 release back in March of this year. And when we shipped that, we added the support for the to-do or task synchronization support for Traveler on Android and Apple iOS devices. So you can have that information syncing to your devices, a much requested feature, capability. And we added the additional platforms. So in addition to iOS and Android, we added Windows Phone, Windows tablets, and the BlackBerry 10 devices, all connecting smoothly and seamlessly. And certainly the user group can have any blend of those device types in your organization. And then we added the support for IBM I in addition to Windows and Linux. In terms of 901, so our first maintenance release, and guess what? That is shipping today. So you are among the first people to even know about that. In fact, our website about the 9.0 presence, that would be a release for Notes and Domino 901 as well as the Traveler mobile component for 901 is all rolling out to the web today. So over the course of the day, you'll see various web pages updated with 901 content, as well as we will be rolling out through the various social media paths too, so Twitter and Facebook. So a lot going on today. It's very exciting. So with this new release of Traveler, we add the ability to do online meeting support. So from your calendar invite, you're able to click directly on the meeting URL and attend right from there. We also allow to set the out-of-office status while on the go. So something that previously you had to go back to your desktop to be able to set your out-of-office notification, but now if you've already left for your trip and you forgot to set out-of-office, you can do so on iOS and Android devices. Several enhancements for your calendar. You can now see, before accepting invitations on the mobile device, you can see if you have any conflicting meetings at that time before pressing that accept button. And as well as adding additional meeting details, utilizing the rooms and resources fields within the meeting invite itself. You have that ability to edit those fields. And then additional security enhancements for the administrator side, being able to enforce things such as prevent copy of messages. You can set that by policy, and which would prevent the forwarding or copying of messages to anyone, much like the function you would have on your desktop today. And also new policies around controls for attachments, adding controls on Windows Phone being most recently added to the fold in terms of platform supported is now you're able to prevent attachments from being detached to the file system on the device. So added security along those lines. And like iOS and Android, attachments and inline images are also now supported on Windows Phone devices. So bringing the newer supported devices into functional parity with the iOS and Android devices that have been in supported state for a longer period of time. Okay, and with this, I'll just wrap up with a series of links here that point you to just a wealth of information, product documentation. We have online wikis and FAQs, online FAQs, all to help you with any questions at the detailed level that you may have about Traveler. And we look forward to having you take a look at 901 and enjoy it as much as we know all of our customer base really does appreciate Traveler and loves the fact that it just works, a catchphrase that we've been using for a long time, and that's because it's so true. Okay, with that, I will stop sharing and turn controls over to the next speaker for today.
Thank you very much, Jan. And now we will have Jeffrey OHalloran discussing the challenges of monitoring Traveler. Jeffrey?
Hello. bring up the presentation here. Good day, everyone. My name is Jeff OHalloran. I am the co-founder of bitrate Consulting. I started working with Lotus Notes as a consultant for one of the original Lotus business partners back in 1992, so it goes back a ways. Later, I spent 10 years in IT management, responsible for the development and operations in the e-business group at a large biopharmaceutical equipment manufacturer. I returned to consulting about 5 years ago, specializing in Notes Domino development, web development, X-Pages applications, and mobile technologies. So today I'll be talking about some of the challenges of monitoring IBM Lotus Traveler. First, I'll give you a quick introduction to bitrate Consulting. I'll then discuss the challenges of monitoring Traveler, cover how to know when there are issues, how to get at the underlying causes of those issues. I'll then cover some of the actions you can take to address the more common IBM Traveler problems. So bitrate Consulting was established in 2009 as a merger of two independent consulting practices. We're located in Lowell, Massachusetts. Our customers are typically medium to large multinational corporations with headquarters or major branch offices in the New England area. We provide customers locally staffed on-site project planning, implementation, and support services in the area of new application development, integrations with Oracle, SAP, open source product, infrastructure planning, operations, and migrations. So first, Traveler may seem like a very simple add-on to Domino. It's super easy to install. It's up and running very quickly, and it just works, as Jan pointed out. That is until it doesn't work. And there are a lot of moving parts that have to operate together to provide this fantastic mobile service that your customers are clamoring for. In addition to the server task, Traveler relies on Java services, the Domino server. It has an internal relational database it uses to operate. It has to be accessible from external mobile devices and some constant communication with your internal mail service. So to effectively monitor IBM Traveler, there's a number of elements to consider. Like any service, there are various components that the Traveler service needs to be monitored. There's the Traveler task itself, server resources, connectivity, and so on. There are also a lot of external dependencies. You could have a reverse proxy, your network settings, VPN software, your upstream mail servers. So you need to consider those as well. But this alone isn't sufficient to ensure that you're delivering good services in your Traveler infrastructure. The success of the Traveler service depends on these components working well together. The attention also needs to be given to the performance of the end-to-end process, the user experience. The first step is to make sure that you're monitoring the right components. There are external elements, as I mentioned, that are dependent on a particular Traveler implementation. For example, if you're running Traveler High Availability or Traveler HA, that's dependent on an external DB2 or SQL Server relational database outside of the local Traveler server. There may also be firewalls, remote mail servers, and other geographic locations. So even if these components and systems are being monitored, there may be Traveler-specific aspects that you'll need to watch. However, there are some common elements that everyone should monitor as part of the basic Traveler implementation. The client configurations, such as the mobile device platforms that are being used by your end users, the number of devices people are using, maybe syncing an iPhone and an iPad, maybe a Surface tablet. There are options that need to be configured that different devices support. And on the server side, 32-bit implementations, memory is typically a limiting factor. 64-bit implementations, you need to be sure you're monitoring the processor and I/O bandwidth, which are typically the limiting factors on those machines. But also there's the Traveler configuration, the HTTP threads, the device sync threads, the memory allocation for the Java application. But most important to the end user experience is also monitoring the sync process, looking for 503 errors, which indicate the server is busy, timeouts, or device errors. So there's several ways to see how these components are functioning. For non-high availability implementation, the Domino admin client can be used to view device data and issue administrative commands. The web-based admin interface primarily is used for user, device, and security settings, but in a high availability implementation, we'll show server status and an availability index. The main interface for monitoring Traveler is the server console, which provides access to detailed metrics on the various Traveler components. External monitoring tools can help and automate a lot of these pieces, monitoring the server metrics and alerting these issues. So the most basic level of monitoring Traveler is verifying that the Traveler task is actually running on the Domino server. This can easily be accomplished with a show task console command that verifies that the Traveler service is up. But there are several other important console commands to be aware of. Tell Traveler user will show data on the named user. This includes the devices, the configurations, the access rights that they have to their backend mail server, the capabilities that they have, and sync options. It also provides the latest sync status for that particular user. The Tell Traveler Status console command gives more detailed information on the Traveler service. It will return a color-coded green, yellow, or red response, as well as pointing out any components that it's monitoring that are out of the thresholds that have been set. Some of these thresholds occasionally need adjustment. For example, if your network performance of remote mail servers keeps triggering yellow conditions, you may need to tweak those settings. It also will report extended response times or delays, which typically indicates some network issues. It will report sync failures, which could be constrained memory situation on the server, or potentially issues with some external components like the reverse proxy may not be handling the number of active devices you have connecting. You also see thread duration, times extending, which would indicate an overloaded server, and memory usage of the server. It keeps polling of the CPU utilization on a periodic basis. The metrics that lead to any exception reports can be accessed with a Tell Traveler Status Show console command. This provides a tremendous wealth of detailed statistics on the performance of various Traveler services and server resources. Pay particular attention to the histograms. Those statistics can sometimes be leading indicators of impending trouble on the Traveler server. In time, you can take and correct the situation before it actually becomes a server outage. Memory is frequently a constraining factor on 32-bit implementations, which is no longer supported on the 9 release level. If you are still running an earlier release, 32-bit implementation on Windows or Linux, steps may need to be taken to reduce the memory size of the core Domino server. Since Traveler is an add-in to the Domino server, the Domino server will, by default, consume more of the memory. You can control that with the NSF buffer pool size setting in the notes.ini file. Each registered device in your environment will need an HTTP thread on the Domino Traveler server. IBM recommends 1.2 times the number of devices. Too few threads, and you'll see device connection errors and potentially increased CPU utilization on the IBM Lotus Traveler server. Too many, and you may see memory issues since each thread consumes server memory. Traveler thread pools handles the synchronization between the device and the back-end Domino mail servers. The defaults that come out of the box are typically sufficient, but in the histograms, if you see get thread delay time showing a lot of syncs outside of the lowest range, which I believe is 0 to 2 seconds, then it indicates you may need to increase the number of device sync threads you have. And the device sync threads are associated with worker threads, so you'll need to also increase the number of worker threads, which is typically kept at twice the number of sync threads. Another area where you can affect performance and see issues is the traveler database that it uses to keep track of statistics and user information. This can become large and fragmented over time. Monthly defragmentation is recommended. For standalone configurations, this can be done at the startup of the traveler task with a -defrag parameter. High availability configurations use an external DB2 or SQL Server database. It doesn't use the internal database. And the maintenance on those databases also has to be done, but that would be done in the respective system. Usage of the traveler service increases. You may see the capacity of the server reached and need to consider distributing usage across multiple traveler servers, or if you have a traveler HA environment, increasing the server pool. The final point to keep in mind is to make sure that the other external infrastructure components are configured properly and operating as expected. As I mentioned, there may be traveler-specific components that you'll need to consider when looking at monitoring those servers. For example, the long connections established by the mobile devices to the traveler service could max out the connections permitted by a reverse proxy, even if the reverse proxy is otherwise functioning. May have network performance issues that could hinder the sync to geographically remote servers if you distribute your mail servers throughout the world, but your traveler servers are consolidated. So effectively monitoring traveler is much more than making sure the traveler service is up and the traveler task is running. You want to monitor the components that matter to ensure you have a great user experience with this critical service. There's a tremendous amount of information and statistics to help monitor the health and operation of the traveler infrastructure. Responding to issues early can avoid larger outages in the future. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Jeffrey. Now it's time for our last presenter, Adam Chatterdon from GFX Solutions. Adam, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much, Michelle. Let me go ahead and share my desktop. All right, great. So as Michelle said, I am the U.S. Channel Manager at GSX Solutions. My name is Adam Chatterdon. Today I'll be covering what we're doing at GSX and how we can help you monitor your traveler environment. So first I'll start off with an overview of GSX for those of you that don't already know us. I'll also briefly cover how GSX can help you manage your IBM traveler environment, followed by a live demo of our monitoring tool, GSX Monitor and Analyzer. And then finally we'll finish up with a Q&A session to answer any of the questions that have come through during the presentation today. So first off, just a quick intro to GSX. We were founded in 1996, and we've been an IBM business partner for about 17 years now. Our CEO actually worked at IBM for 12 years prior to joining GSX. Our headquarters are located in Geneva, Switzerland. We have offices around the world in China, France, and in the USA, where I'm currently located. From a strategic standpoint, we're actively investing in IBM, and we've recently opened an office in Asia to support that market as well, as it's growing very quickly. And we'll be showcasing GSX at IBM Connect in January and also at Connect in Japan next year. We currently have over 600 customers worldwide. Many of them are joining us today, so we thank you for that. And we are also working with several large managed service providers, hosting companies, and system integrators around the world. As you see, a lot of large customers of ours trust GSX to monitor their IBM messaging and collaboration environment. A couple things that we're doing on the monitoring side. We've been monitoring Traveler for several years. We provide an easy, proactive monitoring solution that allows you to monitor the Traveler environment from end to end. In our latest release of GSX Monitor 10.6.1, which is actually available today, we added the functionality to monitor the high availability of your Traveler pool and test mail routing all the way to a Traveler device. We're a complete tool that gives you the ability to collect and report on all the key Traveler statistics to be able to better manage the environment on a day-to-day basis. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to jump into GSX Monitor to show you guys exactly what our tool looks like and how it works. A couple things about our tool before I go into the demo. It's completely agentless tools for not installing any code on the server. It's using the traveler environment as a user would to test the pool and the server level. So we're giving you a true performance monitoring tool that can tell you when issues come up before they're truly impacting your end users. We're also monitoring the link to the DB2 SQL backend, so if this critical piece of Traveler is unreachable, you're going to receive an alert on that as well. So this main view that you guys are seeing here is the overview dashboard of GSX Monitor. You can see that we monitor Domino, Quicker, Traveler. Here's my Traveler pool down here, same time, BlackBerry, and the Microsoft suite of products as well. Specifically on this view, you can see that for the Traveler pool, on the left-hand side, I can see the status of the server. On the right-hand side, you can see the status of the actual pool itself. We also have an LED over here that's going to give you user information, so you can see the total number of users on the server at this time, and then also the total number of users in the Traveler pool. If I go on a server, or actually a pool that's already configured here, it's going to pull up our wizard. So first off, it's going to ask you to put in your credentials. I won't waste too much time showing you guys this today. Same for the database and the SQL backend. You can build in your credentials here. Scanning is how often we're going to go out and perform the tests and simulations that we do on the server. So that can be configured out of this view. But what's most important here is that we give you a specific way to be alerted on the Traveler pool. Of course, most of your users are going to have multiple devices, and in most cases, you really don't need to be alerted for, let's say, if they have 3 devices and 2 of them aren't synced. Most users are going to use, let's say, 1 device per day, or if they're traveling, obviously, they might be using their iPad and their iPhone that day. But you really just need to know that at least 1 device isn't syncing and working correctly. So GSX is going to give you the flexibility to monitor just 1 device or all devices that are out of sync over a specific time period. So you can set the parameter here of how critical or how sensitive you want to be to the devices that are out of sync, and then you can apply that to a specific amount of users within your environment based on a percentage, or the most critical or VIP users, I like to call them, within your environment can be set in here. And of course, we're going to alert you if any of these parameters are not met, or the thresholds that are not met that you have set up, that you'll know there's an issue within the Traveler pool itself. Let's go on and actually look at what we do at the server level as well. So it'll pop up a similar wizard to what you saw. The first of the 3 most important server alerts that we're going to give you guys will actually be the HTTP CPU usage threshold. So it is important, of course, to know that if your environment, if you're monitoring a Traveler pool, of course, the idea is that you have high availability, so likely your end users won't be affected in this scenario. But you do need to know when you're at risk, so that's why it's important to monitor at the server level as well. This was a really common issue that we had, and we actually added this feature for our customers. So as you all know, that the HTTP task can consume a lot of CPU on the Traveler server because of the high number of requests that could occur throughout the day. We provide you with a proactive alert here that's going to prevent any issues that show up on your Traveler server, and you can designate a percentage here on the threshold of CPU usage. The second type of alert that we'll show you at the server level is based on a number of unsuccessful syncs. It's an alert to know if the server is working correctly with the end users, so we'll alert you on the number of unsuccessful syncs exceeded on your the designated threshold within here. And then the third and last alert that we'll give you is actually checking the end user performance at the server level. So we can alert you if more than a specific number of devices takes more than the designated threshold of time to synchronize with the server. Okay, let's hop on over to another feature that we recently added in 10.6.1. That's the Traveler statistics view. So many of you may be used to the ability to see the information that you see here at the server level. So we can give you the total number of users, the devices on the server. You can see the status of the Traveler task, the HTTP task, and also the servlet. We'll give you message flow information. This is all in real time, so every time that GSX goes out and performs our test on the server, we're going to update this view right here. What's also is a very nice feature that we have at the server level is the ability to see specific user information. You can also see device information for the selected user. For that example, let me pull that one up there. So you can see that this user has an Apple iPhone 3. At the actual pool level, what we're going to show you is each individual member of the pool or server in the pool, the status of them. You can see some more information that we provided here. We're going to give you a LED here to show if you're actually if you have high availability at that point in time. Also the SQL DB backend connection and the IP sprayer. So that's all available to you, and like I said before, that's all in real time for you to see that information. The other great new feature that we added in 10.6.1 is the ability to route mail to a traveler device. So any good administrator knows that it's absolutely critical for its mail to be routing to devices 24/7, especially in today's day and age. People are constantly on the go, and they're using their iPhones, their Windows phones, whatever it may be, to be able to check their mail and do their job throughout the day. So this task of actually routing mail could be done manually, but it's obviously a very time-consuming task that most of you administrators or IT managers don't have time to do on a day-to-day basis. We automate this, and we make sure that mail is routing correctly all day long. So what we're actually doing is, if I hop on one of these probes that's already configured, we're creating a test email message on a designated server. We're sending that email message out all the way to a traveler device. Once the mail is routed to the device is actually going to acknowledge the probe and send a receipt back to the original server confirming that the test is completed. Of course, if the test is not completed, we're going to send you an alert and let you know that there is an error, and at that point you can check and do a deeper dive into what exactly is going on at that point in time with the mail routing. So GSX Monitor is going to be your minute-to-minute live monitoring tool that's giving you a proactive way to see what's going on within the environment. The other tool that's included in the licensing of GSX Monitor is GFX Analyzer. So this is a web-based tool that's going to allow you to report on all the statistics and data that we collect from GFX Monitor and actually trend and report on that information. So if I go to the trend reports tab here, this is a really cool feature that we have within GFX Analyzer. It can be a huge time saver for any administrator that is required to do reporting. You can do specific traveler statistics reports. So just take a couple ones here and drag and drop. It's going to graph them for you on demand. You can send it to PDF or CSV right out of this view. You could also build in specific reports around mail routing. So if you wanted to look at the time it takes to for mail to route, you can do the same thing, drag and drop. The graphs are there available for you, and as you see, it's a pretty simple task to be able to create these reports. The last thing I'll show you here on the demo is the environmental health reports. This feature can be used in two different ways. So the first way is actually as an SLA tracking tool. So you can build in the SLAs that you have contracted within your environment and visually see how GSX is tracking those for you. You can see if a server is maybe falling below the SLA that you have set up. The other way is truly looking at your environment as a whole and seeing how your servers are comparing to each other. So you may see, is this traveler server, consuming a lot of CPU comparing to another? Is a server bottlenecking over, the last 3 months? That type of information is available for you within this view. And again, you can send that to PDF or CSV right out of here. So let me head back over to the slide deck here real quick and just share a couple more things with you guys. So for those of you that don't already have GSX Monitor and Analyzer, there's a 30-day trial available on the GSX website, available for download. It's a fully functioning version that can work with up to 15 servers and unlimited users. So please head over if you're interested, or contact one of us and we can help you out to get you set up on a trial version. I know the demo that I gave today was pretty brief, and it certainly did not cover everything that GSX can do in the IBM world of monitoring. If you guys have any questions, or certainly if you want a full demo, don't hesitate to reach out to one of our sales offices. You can email them at sales@gsx.com, or call the numbers that are listed here, and we'll be happy to schedule a demo, a one-on-one WebEx session where you can show the full features of what GSX Monitor can do. And that takes us to the end. So Michelle, I saw some questions come in during the demo, so let's go ahead and answer some of those that have come in.
Okay, great. Thank you, Adam. Now it's time to start the Q&A session. We've already received quite a few interesting questions, so let's get started with the first most popular question, which was, will the links be available after the presentation? The entire presentation will actually be sent to you, so you don't need to worry about that. And the second question is for Jan. The question is, Traveler 9.0 supported on Domino v901, which was made for download today. Will they be supporting Traveler 9.0? Jan, are you there? Okay, so let's hold on for just 1 second and make sure that Jan's connected.
Hi, I'm here. It was a question about 901?
Yes, it's asking if Traveler 9.0 is supported on v901.
In other words, if the 9.0 operating system devices are supported on a 901 server? Is that the question?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, so if you upgrade, what will happen is when the server is upgraded to 9.0, an automatic push out to the end user devices would happen, or notification to that the you need to click and upgrade, because you want your device to be in sync version-wise with your server. But it is an automatic, notification and update, especially for Android. For iOS, it's almost invisible, automatically sort of done in the background, because you're connecting sort of directly to the server back end for the iOS devices. Does that make sense? So when you upgrade the server, essentially that pushes out and makes sure the whole environment is upgraded at the end user points as well.
Okay, great, thanks. The second question we have for you, Jan, is are there any enhancements for BlackBerry 10 devices for Traveler 901? BB Secure Workspace for Android or iOS, perhaps?
Let's see, for BlackBerry, it would be trying to think if there's anything specific. I know there's the looking at to-do capability in terms of bringing it into feature parity with the other platforms. But let me double check that. Well, if there are other questions, you can go on to that, and I can find out if there's any BlackBerry specific things in 901 that we want to call out.
Okay, perfect. We'll come back to that a little bit later.
Okay.
And so our next question is for Jeffrey. Jeffrey, the person has asked, how close does the Traveler server have to be to the mail server, and from a latency standpoint?
I don't believe there's any specific distance, but there are obviously performance considerations if your server is geographically far away. There are timeouts that can be adjusted. So if you have a Traveler server in, say, Europe that is trying to sync data from a mail server that's located in Asia, if your network performance isn't fast enough, you will see warnings and potentially sync timeouts. And it's just something you need to keep an eye on and potentially adjust those thresholds.
Okay, great. Our next question is for Adam. And the question is it possible to set specific alerts around the most critical users' devices in my environment, such as the CEO at my company?
Yeah, definitely. GSX has the flexibility to set specific alert parameters around out-of-sync devices for all your VIP users. Absolutely, and that's often a very popular part of our tool to be able to track the most important devices within your environment.
Okay, great. The next question is it possible to monitor different servers at different locations?
Yeah, definitely this is possible because GSX Monitor Analyzer are completely agentless. You have the ability to access the servers, and you have as long as you have the proper credentials to be able to access them. However, one thing to just consider is that your latency tests will be much more accurate if you're deploying multiple installations of GSX in each data center that you're monitoring. So because we're acting like a user, we can actually mimic those latencies, let's say from one user that's in New York to a user that's in Tokyo or vice versa. So yes, that's possible.
Okay, great. The next question is where is GSX Monitor installed?
So GSX Monitor is typically installed, I'd say 95% of the time on a VM slice. It's certainly not required to be installed on a server class level machine, however.
Okay, great. Next, do we need a separate license for Traveler if I already have a license for Lotus Domino?
So yes, I guess just to back up, I can explain for everybody how GSX Monitor and Analyzer are licensed. It's licensed in two separate ways. It can be purchased perpetually or on a subscription basis. And the licenses are per server that you want to monitor, whether that's Traveler or a Domino server. And it takes into account the number of users within that environment.
All right, and next, does GSX monitor the Traveler internal Derby database performances?
That I'm going to ask Jan, one of our technical experts, to handle. He's a bit more qualified to answer than me.
Okay, great. Do we want to move on to the next question and go back to it?
Sure, no problem.
Okay, so next, does GSX act as a device to check the service availability? If so, what kind of device? ActiveSync or as an Android device?
Yeah, again, I guess we'll have to have Jan follow up on that question. It's a bit more technical than I can handle.
Okay, great. So next we have, what versions of Domino and Traveler do you support?
We're supporting all versions of Domino and Traveler at this point.
Okay. And in order to proceed with the mail routing test, do you need to install something on the Domino database or on the device itself?
Nope. Like I said in the beginning, it's a completely agentless tool. So once you download GSX Monitor and if you have the correct credentials to be able to perform the tests that we're running, there shouldn't be anything installed on the server or the device itself.
Okay, great. Thank you, Adam.
Hey,
We are just about...
This is Jan
Go ahead.
speaking. Sorry to interrupt. About the Derby database, this is not something we do currently, but we are actually monitoring the Lotus Traveler.nsf, so it's a mirror of what's in the Derby database, so that can help as well. And the other question was ActiveSync and I'm assuming...
do you want to hear the question again?
Yes, please.
Okay, so it asks, does GSX act as a device to check the service availability? If so, what kind of device, ActiveSync or as an Android device?
Currently, we are not acting as a real device. We're checking actually on ActiveSync. That's from the Traveler standpoint, not from the actual ActiveSync protocol itself, if you want. And we are able to monitor the ActiveSync via the probe that Adam was showing, which is basically making sure that the probe is reaching the device itself and coming back to us. So we are not, if you want, emulating the ActiveSync protocol, but we are monitoring it in fact, if that makes sense.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I can take that offline if need be and discuss that in detail if that's easier.
Okay. So we're just about to go over time for the webinar. If there were any questions that were asked that we did not address or finish addressing, we'll make sure to send you a response directly. Thank you for attending today's webinar. An evaluation is about to show up in your browser. Please take a moment to provide us with your feedback. Thanks again and have a nice day.